What's up, crypto fam? We'll take a quick look at the markets. We'll take a look at the Fear and Greed Index. We'll take a look at some of the news that's come out for the day and some just general charts. Start off with the Fear and Greed Index. We shot back down. The Fear and Greed Index is at 20 today, and I'm assuming that's on the back of Bitcoin dumping some. There could be a number of reasons that it did dump down to close the weekly. It's still holding my trend line of support, which is good news. That said, likely one of the main reasons for it coming down like it did is the ongoing crisis with Ukraine. There were talks between Ukraine and Russia that have started, but Putin met with some advisors, some of his nuclear advisors, and I think anytime the word nuclear gets thrown around, it tends to shake some people around, rightfully so. It's definitely a scary option to even place on the table. So hopefully nothing comes of it. The talks, I'm hoping, continue to happen, and we get to a peaceful resolution of this before anything gets worse. I know some of the key cities in Ukraine have been surrounded, and the troops are pushing in. It's an ugly conflict. I did see one post today of some farmers are taking their farm equipment and towing the Russian tanks to different locations. Russia is kind of a mess right now. Some of their tanks are running out of gas, and they don't have pipelines set up for supplies and things like that. And Ukraine's kind of taking advantage of that and towing their tanks to random farm places, random street locations, etc., etc. So thought the little dog wanted to help out with the video. She still may. Come on. She will help the price of Bitcoin, I'm hoping. But as far as the news is concerned of what's going on in the space, I found it pretty cool that eBay has come out saying that they may take crypto payments. They have a meeting in March 10th, I believe. They're trying to appeal to a lot more Gen Z, millennial type of audience, and if they're thinking, taking cryptocurrency as payment, now that they do Apple Pay and Google Pay, taking cryptocurrency as payment may help, bolster their efforts to getting the younger generations continuing to use eBay as a method to purchase anything that you want. I think a big thing on eBay right now is shoes, sneakers. So yeah, this is a really big deal. If eBay, some type of huge e-commerce website comes out mentioning that they're interested in starting to take cryptocurrency as payment, that could be a game changer for the cryptocurrency market. So I'm excited to see, what they come out talking about. I'm hopeful. It's mentioned here the firm could make an announcement on March 10th during its day dedicated to investors of the possibility of adding cryptocurrencies as a form of payment. So that would be a big deal. More on the Ukraine-Russian conflict, Anonymous has gotten involved. If you're not familiar with Anonymous, they're basically a hacker collective of people from all over the world, um, and they essentially fight for the people. Um, they're against any type of government totalitarianism, and they're against um, people being targeted. So they're doing what they can to target Russia. They've announced on Twitter that they're at war with Russia over cyberspace at this point. They've taken down a lot of Russian TV stations and replaced the feeds with images of what's actually going on in Ukraine versus the state-run media channels that only show, the Russian side of it, which is a big deal because that information isn't easily accessed by most of the people there. They also have taken down just about every Russian government website, and they mentioned that they're going to continue keeping them down for as long as they're at war with Russia, at cyber war. The last piece of news that I found interesting, the U.S. Embassy in Russia is telling American citizens that are living in Russia, or any Americans living in Russia, to leave immediately. They're going to start banning airspace over Russia in Ukraine. And so it's not going to be easy for people to come or go. So if things do turn sideways or uglier, they want to make sure that all the U.S. citizens are out in a safe place. That said, this is in itself kind of a scary statement, coupled with what Putin's saying about nuclear weapons. The U.S. encouraging citizens to leave during a time of conflict, it makes sense, but it's also a little bit scary because they're just mentioning it now and not early into the conflict. So I'll be watching that for sure. The Bitcoin price is kind of just it's recovered some, and it's kind of just chilling at its 38K price point. It's not doing anything miraculous. I think it's going to be similar to yesterday. We'll look at a one-day chart. It's just the volume starting to drop off, so we're not seeing as the larger shifts in up and down volume, just because the volume isn't up and down price, just because the volume isn't there to back that up. So once the volume does return, we should start to see more price movement. I'm concerned. I know this is holding right now, the trend line that I've drawn, but I think what's going to be really telling is tomorrow when the S&P opens. If the S&P opens in a bloodbath tomorrow, I don't see that being a good thing for any of the cryptocurrency space. So I'll be for sure watching the S&P closely tomorrow, and making decisions based off that. I'm still very much sitting on the sidelines, but as far as planning a strategy on what to do in the future, I think it's very dependent on how the S&P sees the news that's happened over the weekend, how the war's been evolving over the weekend, and kind of make a plan from that information. Because I think we're getting up to a critical point where we either test up or down. Either I think we get an awful start to the week and we head much lower to the 32K, 29K region, or we get a great opening and hopefully some resolve to the Ukraine-Russian conflict, and then we start pushing the upper resistance levels. We crack through 40K and test the 42 to 43K region. So I think a lot's going to be dependent on the S&P to close out the month. So that's what I'll be watching for. I just want to give a quick update. There's not a lot of movement right now to really go in depth with any charts or any talks as far as any of the altcoin market, just because a Bitcoin really needs to make a move as of right now for the altcoins to do something, is my belief. Because, in our previous alt seasons, we've always Bitcoin had come down, corrected, and stabilized when the alts started to do well. But that said, Bitcoin's kind of in a volatile place. People aren't comfortable with the range that it's in right now, and I think it's going to take that comfort level for people to really start investing into the altcoin market again. So I'll be watching the news Monday morning when the S&P opens very closely. But until then, there's not really any activity in the market, and I don't want to drag a video out explaining different altcoin setups when really all eyes should be on Bitcoin, and how it does to start the week now that it's got a brand new open. So I'll be back tomorrow with another video, a little bit more in-depth analysis, and hopefully some great news that's come out during the day. Till then, have a great rest of your weekend. Have a great Monday morning, and I'll talk to you tomorrow night. Peace.